Greetings all. So round 8. I was playing black pieces against women's candidate master from Estonia, rated 1993. I knew she plays e4 almost exclusively, but had very little tells where the game would go against the Caro-Kann. There was like one game of advanced variation, and against this variation she had played one game, I think, again with c3, which is not the best at all, but she had improved from there and played takes, which is I think the critical reply. So of course here the more common, of course, is the, well, I don't know if it's more common anymore. It's probably much more common, the bishop c5 lines, but I played this. This definitely can turn into a French-like positions often, but we hope we don't end up there, even though we did, kind of. So e6. Now, of course, all the Caro-Kann players are like screaming, could have brought the bishop out instantly, and now it's locked up. What's up, dude? But we have at least dislodged one central pawn here, and well, here we hope to get the pawn back, but my opponent says no, just defends the pawn here, which we were attacking. So we do knight d7, double attack. Let me have my pawn back, please. And my opponent says no. Pinned. Good luck with that. Yeah, and this is definitely the way they can sometimes hold on to the pawn here. It's okay though. It is definitely okay line. Knight e7. We're going here or here. This would break the pin, attack here twice. So here white has many options. They choose c3, planning of playing b4 and holding on to the pawn more. So here a6 is kicks the bishop around a little bit first, and then we play knight c6. And now there is a double attack there, double attack there. White can't really hold on to the pawn no more. Like this is how we can take here. Of course, we have to remember that one of the knights is gonna end up pinned, so we of course cannot take here because oof. But we can, for instance, take this because then the pin is not gonna kill us. That is not how the game went though. They played knight f3. Well, I took there anyhow. And then they played the bishop d4. And here I knew queen c7 is a good move. Like we are kind of going for this, and it looks almost like white can't defend it. They actually can, kind of like I mean, we are also threatening b5 at some point and unleashing both knights, but yeah, now there is no pawn defender here, so we could have gone for the pawn here. White can of course kind of ignore it for a second, and now if you snap the pawn, bang, can't take there because of the pin. And if you instantly break the pin here with b5, white can play here, and this is still kind of like can you take it? Oh sorry, take this way, of course. Probably should not hang the bishop too. But yeah, here white can still take, and then there's this stinky move, bishop takes d5, with the idea that if we take there, white can chop there, and then if we take back, then oof. So it's not clear cut to take there yet. Well, of course black can castle there, but even here it's not so easy. Like you go for the pawn and you still have to, I mean, maybe here some kind of prep move, but even here you have to be careful not to catch the pawn, because there's All with these tactics lurking all around. But anyways, queen c7 is the move. I knew it's the move, but I had to try to improve stuff over the board. I don't know, I had some funny ideas here. They're not really working. This is still okay, of course, but now I should just castle or go back, says the computer. Like the queen c7 was so good move that you could even waste a tempo here and be better. Well, I had some stupid idea I took there. And there, I had some ideas. This is like the other Caro-Kann game I played. Whereas I'm just playing on the queen side. And now it's like turned into a French almost. Well, it's been a French for a while, I guess. So Bin was hitting that bishop. And then I had some ideas that like I'm just gonna again play for the c4 square, just like in the Panov game on round, I don't know, something. Maybe 5. Well, my opponent played rook c1, they just reinforce here. And I'm just building these guys here. Bishop is trying to come to b5, stop the castles, be happy. Just doesn't work though. a3, and now I should just retreat here and admit defeat. But I took here anyways, still playing for this square, but now it's becoming scary because there is the discovery here, so white is threatening to check and win the queen. And yeah, this is getting out of hand. I don't know what I should do here, something else, but I castled. Get out of the checks here. But the problem here is that the rook's already lifted here. The bishop can come here, knight can come here, and yeah, I don't think this is at all a good idea to castle. Yeah, I should not have taken there. I don't know. It's not, well, kind of white is better here for sure. My opponent castled. I was much more scared about some knight g5s here. Computer can defend this easy, but I'm not a computer. So ideas are just to take here and then say check. And maybe mate me, but also just win the queen with the discoveries again. Like if this happens, I think knight can take here, and the problem is that you can't take it back either way. You take it there, it's a check. And if you take with the rook, it's a check. You lose the queen. Goodbye. So here black has to find some computer defenses like rook a c8, and if this happens we have to like take here and take here, but let's say they threaten the mate here. We have g6. Yeah, this pin at least does defend me. The rook can't swing instantly anywhere. I think I was kind of critical during the game. I thought this is soft move, but I think computer says it's the best move. Get out of the pins. But I was kind of scared of these though. And yeah, bishop's here, we can just play here and be alright. But yeah, it doesn't really look that great either. Anyhow, my opponent castled. Still white's game. I played here, based on not even a pawn sack. I thought I'm doing fine here. But the main point is that we also free the queen to come back here and defend g5s and all. My opponent played here. Alright, so they could have just taken. And of course not they can't run into this stuff here for, oh sorry. Yeah, this, of course. But they could take, and then knight g5 still. With the rook lifting up and the queen getting out of the pins with all kind of threats like h6. Knight even can come here, and horrible stuff happens. This is a completely computerish line. Crazy checkmate, for instance. But of course, if you go here, it's an easier checkmate. Of course, nobody's gonna see that probably, but you never know. The point is that my king is open, no defenders. There's gonna be all kind of hell to pay. My opponent played here, and then here I was kind of happy. Still, there's h4s coming up with kind of fishing Polish attack here, but like even h6. But you can also, like, if black plays stops that, then you can try to use this weakened light squares there. Horrible stuff, horrible stuff. Anyways, yeah, bishop a2 is fine. I don't know what else. And going for this, but there's just, it's very hard to defend. I think computer wants to play f5 for white or black, and then do stuff like this. We go here, we can kind of block here, but you have a backwards pawn here, and even maybe takes, and I don't know, stuff like this. Bang, bang, bang. And of course this doesn't look good at all. Anyways, my opponent took here, which was definitely wrong. They still cannot take the pawn because I have the stuff around here. So they let the pawn be there. I think their idea was that they're gonna stick the knight around there. Or maybe this wave allowed, but also frees the rook to go attack. Here I'm kind of happy already. Bishop c6, still can't take here without dropping the exchange. And if knight takes, we just take here and be happy. Happily both little campers. My opponent threatened mate. I did not want to weaken the dark squares and maybe end up seeing this guy here someday, even though we could probably chop it off, but I thought this is much more sturdy. This is not much of a threat yet. Alright, so they played rook d1, and I took the pawn anyways. Yeah, still can't take here. Well, I'm threatening to take d4, and yeah, this runs still to bishop b5 pins, so they went here. And yeah, if the knight goes here, we'll just chop and take there. Rook d1. I took there anyways, and now white should definitely take the pawn. It's about equal. Queen goes somewhere, and I mean, I'm kind of happy with my position though, but it's about equal. Instead, they probably felt like they missed a chance here. Which they did with the attack, but they still keep on going for it. But now I'm up a pawn, and I'm gonna keep it. Queen e4. Keeping an eye on this guy here. They of course probably should not trade, so they're going for this, even though it's not the threat yet. And I'm just saying, let's trade rooks. They attacked my queen, and yeah, I'll just walk into a pin, but we can always go here if we need to. Or not pin, but a discovery. During the game I was calculating all kind of rubbish like this, and my opponent takes the pawn, and then I can like take, go here and there, and then I'll take it and I'll map a pawn. Still in the endgame, but yeah, I might be down a rook here. And I kind of seriously considered this line too. All kind of nonsense calculations. Alright, so instead I went here. There's no good discovery with the knight here. So they just played rook g3 instead. Threatened to take here, bang. pin. All right, so, and of course, I played king h8. Of course, you don't go here and walk into a check, dropping the queen. So king h8. I was kind of happy with my defensive play, at least at this point. Like, we didn't really try to keep it minimalistic and not weaken too much stuff here. If they could of course go here and try to take, but at the moment my queen can always come back and defend against any kind of perpetuals. Still, of course, we cannot go king h7. They played rook f1, which I did not understand at all. I don't know, maybe the idea is that the rook's not hanging in some line. I don't know how it would work, like h3, random move. Takes here, and then they could like take here if this was not hanging, maybe. But anyways, it feels like you're undeveloping anyways, though. Took here. I'm not sure. Here I thought I'm like, currently is that I'm always gonna be better if not winning. Knight, well, but the knight was not really going anywhere anymore. So that was probably a little too much safety here. But now we are in a major piece endgame up a pawn. I have an extra pawn on this side, which I mess up. This moment I was not happy in the game though. Queen d5 or something else. Something else. Not d4 probably. I played queen e4. The problem here is that of course I'm going for this pawn, but I dropped this pawn. I probably kind of was hesitant to go here because you kind of lock the queen off this side. And then he could maybe threaten to, again, chop, get some perp here. And my queen is not really helping. I guess I could take here. Oh yeah, and if I take here, then this has the same problem as the game did. I take this, they take this. And now I have traded my majority on this side to a central pawn, which technically could be a good trade at some point, but yeah, I felt like I need the ability to make a passed pawn more. Anyways, I played queen e4 and that has the exact same problem. I win this pawn, they win this thinking pawn. Now I have no majority on this side anymore. It felt like here, I felt like it's gonna be a very hard conversion if I can do it. It was a big mess. Big mess. Yeah, here I think, yeah, queen d5, earlier, queen d5. If they go for this, you can probably do like if you instantly go here, they can probably keep on doing this kind of a tango here, but you can probably go here, and then if they give you a check, you go here, and the queen's no longer here, and now if they go attack this guy again, at least this is not gonna come with check again, and then we're probably in time to play b5 or something. Like this kind of little king dance here would have been probably the way to go, and queen d5, but it's hard during the game. All right, so here I messed up. I won the central pawn, they won my extra pawn on this side. 2 versus 2 on this side, not good. Well, at least I can play pretty freely here, even though the next phase is complete garbage. I mean, this is fine. Centralize, get really good grip on the d file, bring the king here, so this is defended and all. My opponent makes a luft. These are all also moves before the 40th move, so I think we were both a little low on time here. My opponent plays b4. I drop the queen back. I've had some ideas that I'm gonna switch these guys around in that I get the rook in front, so I can at least think about trading or trading stuff if I need to. Maybe here. Who knows? This part is definitely bad. My opponent is going for attacks. And to be honest, this kind of worked out in my favor, because their pieces end up a little uncoordinated. Like I was feeling like afterwards I was thinking that I would have a much harder time converting this game if they just sat here without doing anything horribly weakening. Like even the b4 kind of looked like it's harder to maybe attack on b2 than on like this way. But now that the pieces start to kind of wander, and now rooks are disconnected, even though they are kind of making up kind of a scary attack. I was starting to get a little worried, like I play something, maybe some sack and there if the queen gets here. So I didn't want the queen end up there. f6 instantly. So h5 saved the pawn. They're coming towards here. Also, there's maybe someday if I move the queen, some chop ideas. So I decided to trade the rooks. They took, and then I have a nice check here. Not sure how white is supposed to block the check though. Because, well, I thought with the queen. Even though you're a pawn down, but you're kind of like threatening to go into a rook endgame pawn down, which is maybe not the worst thing in the world. Pawn here looked a little weaker with the diagonal and the rook here, and maybe the queen can come here. Possible. Even though here you can always maybe play here, and then I have to come back, get off it. And yeah, so suddenly maybe stuff like this could start to happen, and I started to see some ghosts around here. But I expected something other than this, because here well, first of all, I kind of thought this wins, which it does not. I mean, might, but not because the reasons I thought, like I can go here, but then there is no mate. The rook's no longer pinned, it can move, and the king can escape this. So, well, at least I saw that. I didn't see much, but at least I saw that. Anyways, thought this move. Threatening to, well, hopefully trade everything down, and if I get to a pawn endgame, pawn up, then I'm golden. Rook endgame, I was kind of like, do I want to go there? I was kind of expecting that eventually we end up in like a rook endgame, pawn up, and then I have to grind and hope it's enough, but who knows? It is very hard when you don't have a easy way of making passed pawns. So yeah, somehow it would have been a long grind. Alright, so they broke the pin. And yeah, I think this is again, queen endgame, pawn up, but make a passed pawn here in front of my king. It's hard as hell. And whenever I do, then the king gets weak, and that's not good. In the queen endgame, maybe we could try on here, but who knows? And of course, black has that advantage that he's still up a pawn, so you can always bully the white by threatening to trade the queens. Anyways, I didn't want to end up here, so I played here. Well, actually, I kind of saw the rest of this kind of play out, because the queen has no good squares. It goes either here or here. If it goes to f6, we just go here and win this pawn for free. They went here, but we still win the pawn for free. I can do like almost a double pin here, attack it twice, and then I have a third attacker here. I mean, they could defend with another one here, but then the second rank and first rank get too weak. It's probably gonna be a mate very fast. I don't know, somewhere here. How do we make checkmate though? Like here. Probably can't do anything about this. No checks, nothing. And of course, if king comes here, we just try to chop over everything here. Anyways, they played queen here. They had an idea that I'm gonna win a pawn. But at least my extra pawns are doubled pawn here, and there's no passed pawn yet. But yeah, 2 pawns. They're all in front of my king, so my king is safe-ish. Right, so they played king g1. I'm not sure, that might have been a... Well, yeah, sorry, I was threatening to discover check here and maybe trade the pawn, and then I would have an f-pawn passer, and again we can bully the white. We're always threatening to trade the rook queens at some point. Anyways, here I saw this kind of a nice maneuver. Queen check. We threaten there and there. Even though I'm not sure I can always take this pawn, like if they do. Let's say random move here. Well, this is not so random, because this is what they did in a game anyways, but like this kind of stuff, I was not sure. Like here. And then somehow like you come here. But yeah, here I always have this coming back with check, so this I kind of did think. So maybe I could have snapped the pawn here. If the king is here, I don't know, they do something else, like... To be honest, I don't know what. Can I then snap the pawn? Chop. Here. Oh, but now I have this check here. Does that matter? Oh, but then I can come here and there. Okay. So we can always take the pawn. During the game I thought like something like this could be annoying. You check either here, and then you come to the light square diagonal there, but yeah, it's never gonna work out. Anyways, I saw another idea. King h1. I'm gonna go here, and then blast f3. It's fine enough. Of course, if they chop, then we chop. And these pawn end games are just completely horribly impossible for white. No chances at all. So that's a good part of being up some pawns. You can always bully our opponent. Here we are up 2 pawns, so we can even lose the pawn and threaten to trade the queens. Well, we are also threatening mate, and there is only 1 check here, so this doesn't lead anywhere. And now you lose the both pawns with check here, and maybe even this guy here too, so all of them are gonna die. So they took, but then I win this pawn with check. And then now I have my passed pawn, which I wanted. So here I took it really seriously, no counterplay, nothing for you approach. So I went queen e6, we defend the king, we defend the queen side. Okay, a little bit of tweaking around here. I mean, eventually we wanna push these pawns. Here I kind of move the king here, and then queen f6. And then queen e5, improve this. Now there's no checks anywhere. Queen is defending g5, so we push. This pawn is now irrelevant. They could chop it, but then, I mean, I can win this guy with checks and... I don't know, maybe push there and... Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what happened in the game anyways. They went here, but I have this check and the pawn push here. They have no checks yet, but I can still push, and then I saw that they have 1 check here. I can block that with the pawn. And 1 check, well, 2 checks, but then we go king h6 and there is no more checks. Here my opponent resigned. We are just threatening to push and promote with maybe with a check, but get another queen. If they threaten to, for instance, go here, we just do this, or it's gonna be a mate. Also here, white chose a bad square anyways. And lost the queen too. Horrible. I don't know what to think about that game. I liked a lot of it, but some parts were just brain dead. Opening phase was really stupid. I mean, I got a decent opening, but then I should have gone with the trotted pads, which I knew were good, but I wanted to improve things, and I made it worse. And then losing the C pawn to an E pawn was, I think, just a stupid stuff, making the conversion much harder. I don't know what I would have done if my opponent just sat in some kind of a position like this. We can push and push for a little bit, but and even further down, like give the pawns back here and the rooks like here, defending both weak squares here, like some kind of turtle defense. Do no harm to your position kind of situation. Like, how does black make progress? Go for a trades here. I mean, that was what I had in mind, but I don't really see how that benefits us in a big way. But something, push slowly, something somewhere. Very intelligent. Anyways, thanks for watching. Next round, next time. Ciao.